What's good, guys? It's been a while since I've done a flashlight review, so let's talk about the Foursevens Preon P1 Mark III. Yeah, long name. This version actually came out a couple of years ago, but it's been one of my favorite AAA flashlights since a buddy of mine loaned it to me to check out. So when I saw it pop up on the secondary market, well, I had to snag one for myself. As always, if you guys find these videos informative, be sure to smash that like button and to subscribe for future content. Okay, so let's just dive right into what I like about it. The first thing I want to talk about is the build. Purely in terms of design fundamentals, the P1 is a terrific flashlight. You'll note that it's using a forward clicky switch up here, as opposed to most AAA flashlights which use a twisty mechanism like this. The disadvantage of a twisty is that you lose momentary output, and it's also very easy to accidentally activate the flashlight just by squeezing, unless it has very good threads. In terms of actuation, this is a great choice too. With smaller flashlights, I find that it's often difficult to get a good grip on them. And if you do want to use this as a twisty, you can absolutely do that as well, just by leaving the switch depressed here. And it's on now, and you can use it as a twisty now. And something to note is that there's also knurling at the head to facilitate this. I'm not sure if that's what it's specifically for, but it's certainly helpful in doing so. You do lose the ability to tail stand, but for my preferences, the mechanical switch is the superior choice for a AAA flashlight like this. Now, the other notable design aspect is this clip here. It is a very simple design, but they've absolutely nailed it. The lip here is raised a good more than you'll see with most clips, and this means that this will lock onto even thicker pockets easily. It's also got just the right amount of tension to it, and enough that it shouldn't slip out even if you're wearing like sports shorts or something. Honestly, it boggles my mind why most companies can't get such a simple thing correct. But yeah, this clip alone makes the P1 exceptional to me. It really doesn't matter how bright, how much runtime, or how robust a flashlight is if I can't even carry it. Just in general, this is a very small EDC-able flashlight. I will throw up the dimensions on screen so that you guys can have a look as well. Now, if you guys have watched my channel for some time, then you know that I have a comprehensive flashlight ranking list. I essentially like to break down my rankings into physical design and technical performance. And from a physical design aspect, this easily merits an A- in my books. Really solid stuff. Moving on to technical performance though, this is where things start to falter a bit. Just to start with, the P1 is not the most efficient flashlight I have seen. Far from it actually. Runtimes are a bit lacking, and I believe there were even some discrepancies when this flashlight first came out. The median runtime was stated at 8 hours, and then it subsequently went down to 4 hours, and then it went back up to 5 hours. Unfortunately, I can't strictly comment on that just because the LED on my sample has been swapped out for a Nichia 219B. This is also one of the main reasons why I decided to cop this one. Among flashlight geeks, the Nichia 219B is sort of regarded as the de facto king of tint. This one in particular is an SW35, so it sits around 3500 Kelvin. Very pleasant color temperature, and the tint is to die for, man. The trade-off here though is that the 219B is not as efficient as the Nichia 219C that comes with the stock version of the flashlight. It also really exacerbates the driver's lack of efficiency, and the medium runtime takes a nosedive to around 2 hours. As for how much this actually matters in practice, I honestly don't think it's a huge deal, but it definitely bothers me some. Likewise, the output on this flashlight is not the greatest. I think that it tops out at like 100 lumens, which is more than ample for most everyday tasks, but sometimes you want a little bit more, just a little bit more power. Alright, so this is just a quick demonstration of the beam. You can see that the camera is actually picking up the tint quite nicely, and it's just a godly LED in general, probably one of the best that I've seen. The beam itself is fairly smooth with a more blobby hotspot that excels best at close range stuff. This is exactly what it should be for a smaller AAA flashlight, and you shouldn't be expecting it to punch like crazy or anything like that given the lower output as well. You guys know that I always preach quality over quantity when it comes to output. Nonetheless, I do think the Preon P1 leaves something to be desired here. These gripes out of the way, there are some cool things going on with the driver of this flashlight. It is programmable, and you can select from 6 preset mode groups. I'm not going to show it here just because it's a bit annoying to go through the whole process, but I'll throw up the possible mode groups on the screen as well for you guys. A feature that I really like is the double tap for max output, or burst as Foursevens/DarkSucks is calling it. This is a similar feature to the H17F driver, and it's pretty cool to see it implemented in a AAA flashlight. The way this works is pretty simple. You just double tap, you'll instantly go to max output. And then that mode is not stored in the memory. And when it comes to memory, this flashlight is using hybrid memory. So it will come on the last mode that you used it, but then it defaults to the first output in the mode group. As an example, if I have it on medium and then I turn it off, it will default to medium when I turn it back on, but then when I cycle the next mode, it will go to the low output. Personally, I've never been the biggest fan of this type of memory, and I would have at least liked to have seen the option to toggle it off, given that there's programmable features with this flashlight. It's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things though, and from a technical standpoint, I would probably give the P1 a solid B-. The lack of output and runtime isn't quite cutting it for me despite some very cool features. It's also not compatible with 10440 cells like this one here, but I don't really care for those. I think that they're a pretty dumb way to run such a small flashlight, especially because any notion of efficiency or reliability hits the drain as a result. And yeah, it's already not the most efficient flashlight, so yeah, that would not be a very good decision in my books. Okay, so let's talk conclusions. Despite some setbacks in technical performance, in practice this is a great AAA flashlight. It is very EDC-able and the design fundamentals are absolutely on point. I'd give it a solid recommendation at the $50 price point. I wouldn't bother going for the copper version though, just because it sort of defeats the point of such a small, lightweight flashlight. On the other hand, the titanium version looks pretty cool though, and I might cop one of those myself just because it's a bling metal. There's just something about titanium that gets me every time, man. I hope you guys found this video review informative. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and to subscribe for future content. Peace out until next time.